But interestingly, we've been able to see from scriptures that the times that those people of old have been looking out for, the times are unfolding in our day. There's something that is unique that the Lord said. He did say that nobody knows the time, nobody knows the hour that he will come. He said, not even the angels in heaven. At one place, it says, not even the Son of Man. And that is one of the things that we should always hold on to. So people who predict with dates, they fall into terrible errors. And actually, they have seen their folly ever since they have been doing that. Even though many have fallen into such errors, there are still some who are still doing it. Nobody knows the time. Nobody knows the day. Nobody knows the hour. Not the angels and not even the Son of Man, but the Father alone. But however, the Lord himself made it very clear in the Bible. Say, but we will know the generation. We will know the generation. We will not know the time. We won't know the hour. We won't know the day. But it is given to us to know the generation. The generation of the fulfillment of the things that he talked about and his return. And these are some of the things that should arm us when we are dealing with issues on eschatology. And truly speaking, the generation that the Lord talked about is the one that we are in now. But the question now is, how do we determine the generation? Looking at biblical patterns of generation, we really can see that generation could be 40 years or 100 years. Let's look at them from the Bible. First, let's start with Abraham. The Lord told Abraham that his seed will go into captivity, will go into bondage in a foreign land. Talking about the seed of Abraham, which eventually happened with their going to Egypt. And God said he would visit with them and bring them back and return them to the land that he, God, has sworn to their fathers. And that's what God said. He said they will be there for 400 years. And at the end of 400 years, he, God, will bring them back. Okay? Now, later when he will talk about the 400 years, he referred to it as 4 generations. Have you seen the Bible? Yeah. He referred to it as 4 generations. And actually, God brought them back after about 430 years. Now, if 400 years will be likened to 4 generations, then we really can say that a generation stands for how many other years? 100 years. Thank you. Another biblical insight into generation is the number of years the children of Israel spent in the wilderness when they came out from Egypt going toward the promised land. In the wilderness, they spent 40 years. Can we remember that? And in Hebrews, you also find in the Psalm, the Bible refers to those people who spent 400 years and were wasted in the wilderness as a generation. That the generation, them that moved from that place, they perished in the wilderness. I hope we can see that. Wonderful. So we really can peg generation, whether for 100 years or 40 years. There may be other biblical insight into the number of years of generation. But running with these two, then how do we determine that we are in the generation now? One of the things that we must understand is that Israel has become God's timepiece in his end time program. Israel has become its timepiece. You will know that even prophecy teachers, as that when Israel was sacked, when the temple was destroyed in 17 AD by Titus, the son of Vespasian, at that time the temple was destroyed, Jerusalem was sacked, Israel was sacked, and the people of Israel, the Jews, they were massacred terribly. Some were taken to exile, some were taken and used for gladiatorial pleasure and all of those stuff. And that city was sacked. At that time, the nation of Israel ceased to exist. As that when the nation of Israel ceased to exist, Jerusalem overtaken by the Gentiles, so there was no nation for Israel at that time. Until after about 2,000 years. But one of the things that really happened was when Israel ceased to be a nation, some of the prophecies which concern Israel in the Bible, prophecy teachers began to push them away from Israel and interpret them in line with the church. Some of you ministers will know what I'm talking about. Because they felt that such prophecies couldn't happen again because Israel is not a nation. What is believed really happened was that at that time, God's clock ceased, God's clock. Until after about 2,000 years. In 1948, when Israel became a nation again, when Israel became a nation, it was a big surprise. And at that time, what really happened again with prophecy teachers is they began to redefine their eschatological teachings. Because now that Israel has become a nation, they have come to believe that those things in the Bible that concern Israel will eventually come to pass. But in 1948, when they became a nation, at that time they had not gotten full control of Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is the principal city that determines the sovereignty of Israel. The Bible called Jerusalem the city of the king. But Israel had become a nation. But Jerusalem was not under their control until 1967, during the 6-Day War, when that small, tiny nation moved against the high-profile nations of the Arab world, conquered them, and not only that, recovered their territory, their land. From Egypt, they got the Sinai Peninsula. From Syria, they got the Golan Heights. And you know that today, the Golan Heights, I hope you know that Israel has the largest deposit of gas in the whole world. I don't know if you know that. Now, I don't want to go into all of those stuff because I want to maximize my time. It would have interested to know that one of the things that would make big nations to gather against Israel because of their wealth, the kind of wealth that Israel is sitting on now, is alarming. Now listen. When the first discovered that gas deposit, It was so huge, so powerful that Russia had to come to strike a deal with Israel because it shook the world. All right. But after some years, they discovered that that large deposit of gas that the world was alarmed of was actually bigger than they thought before. 3 times bigger than they thought before. And that it blew the head of many other nations. And where is it situated? The Golan Heights. Okay, we're talking about they taking over Golan Heights. And from Jordan, they captured the West Bank, Jerusalem. So you could see that from these 3 nations, they recovered their territory. And with Jerusalem in their possession, it can really fully be said, in fulfillment of prophecy, if you look at the Bible in Luke 21, from verse 20 through to 24, you will see that the Gentiles would take over the land of Jerusalem until their time is fulfilled. So by 67, their time was fulfilled and Israel recovered Jerusalem. Okay? So in 1948, that was the time that Israel became a nation. But in 67 was when they recovered Jerusalem. All right? So either of these 2 dates began the generation that the Lord was talking about that will witness his coming. And it is more realistic with 1967 because of Jerusalem being captured. And if we are going to look at it from 1967, then 100 years for a generation. 100 years from that time. If you look at it from 1948, 100 years from that time. But I wouldn't want us to just look at the numbers like that. You must understand that God has said, these are things that have been proven in the Bible. God said he would do a quick work and cut it short in what? Righteousness. God has always shown up before the time. That has always been his operation. Remember when the children of Israel were taken to captivity in Babylon, they had to spend how many years? 70 years. But before the 70 years, God intervened and he brought them back. That has always been the pattern of God. So it's important for us to understand that we are in the generation now. But don't just be looking at 100 years after they got Israel, after they got Jerusalem, or after they became a state. You must see God according to what the Bible teaches. He said a quick work he will do, and will cut it short in righteousness. Remember, he did say he will come like a thief. A thief gives you a notice that it's coming in a week time. He comes the second day.
That's right. I hear you.
And that's why it's really very important that the time that we're in, we should cross our teeth and dot our I's. Because there's no more time. People want to make us believe that we just can live our life anyhow, as if there are no guidelines given to us by God. It's important we are conscious of the times we are in. These are real strange times.